Statistics show that 46% of all kids who smoke marijuana are inner city youth. Guess who the other 54% are? Call for a free parent's guide to drug prevention. 1-800-624-0100.
America's Cup 95, presented by Louis Vuitton. To win the America's Cup, you must first win the Louis Vuitton Cup. The America's Cup, the sailing world's greatest test of talent and technology. From the training, to the trials, to the finals, we're proud that our revolutionary SB 770 was the footwear of choice for finalists, Team New Zealand and Team Dennis Conner. It took the most competitive race in sailing to prove that when it comes to high-performance marine shoes, there is no competition. Sperry Topsider, when you know the water.
The oldest trophy in sports up for grabs once again. The defender was back, but his team had a much different look. The Blue Boat was back as well. Its skipper going for his 5th America's Cup victory. And this new U.S. entry appeared to have as much substance as style. The challengers would return with a vengeance. Make no mistake, they would be the favorites. New Zealand would have 2 potent teams. And if resolve counts for anything, this past America's Cup victor has shown that he and his team take adversity in stride. San Diego, California, and in the foreground, the San Diego Yacht Club, home of the oldest trophy in sports, the America's Cup, for the past 8 years.
Hi again, everybody. I'm Jim Kelly. Welcome on board Endeavor, the 1934 Challenger and one of the greatest yachts in America's Cup history. A yacht that has been here at the San Diego Yacht Club enjoying the celebration of this 29th defense. For the second time in history, a foreign challenger has taken yachting's grandest prize from America. John Bertrand led the Australians to a victory back in 1983. This year it was New Zealand's turn, and the Kiwis did it in style, losing only one race on the water the entire regatta. Among the 3 defenders was one syndicate that would make Cup history, win or lose. It was organized by the last Cup defender himself, America Cube's William Ingram Koch, a man who likes to do things differently and with his own style. With me, Gary Jobson, former America's Cup winning tactician who sailed with Bill Koch for 5 years. Gary, surprised at all when Bill fielded the all-women's team?
Jim, nothing Bill Koch does surprises me. The concept isn't new. The last 2 Whitbread races had all-women's teams, but it took Bill Koch to do it, and the world applauded. It was great for women's sailing, and we learned that women had the strength and talent to be competitive at the top end of the sport, and they were competitive right to the very end.
The battle flag Betsy Ross would be proud of. No stars, but they've earned their stripes since they posed for this picture. Some signed on with less experience than others, but all with the same goal, winning an all-women crew. At the center of attention, Bill Koch, who some would say is in a win-win situation. If the women win, great, but no one expected them to. There were skeptics. Would every ounce of energy they had be enough to push away the pounds of doubt? Were they strong enough? Would a women's team really work out? Well, Koch claimed that half these women would have made the team in '92. It soon became apparent that the real strength was at the start. Helmsman J.J. Eisler flexed her tactical mind against the old man of the sea. Dennis Conner was outsmarted at the start in each of the first 3 rounds. The America's Cup veteran had found another first.
Thought that I should make sure I lost the first race ever to the Women's America's Cup team, kind of as certainly the first American skipper ever to do so.
Mighty Mary, the last boat to arrive in San Diego, was promised to be 2 to 3 minutes faster around the course than the original America Cube. Koch was relying on J.J. Eisler to get her up to speed. Then Koch reneged on his commitment by putting a man in J.J.'s spot, David Dellenbaugh.
Do you ever put a man on the boat anywhere?
No. This team is, I'm dedicated to a principle, and we're going to see it through, one way or the other.
And you've told them that?
Absolutely.
And they're buying it?
Absolutely.
And they've got no reason to doubt you?
No reason to doubt it.
You're committed?
I'm committed.
I can play this tape the 1st of May, and the answer is the same?
Same thing. You're going to see nothing. You might see a 17th man as a male, but you will not see any males on that first 16.
Bill Koch's explanation, the women asked for it. J.J. Eisler continued to carry her weight while questions about the decision would not go away. Even questions Koch had to ask himself.
What's our purpose here? Why are we here? Are we here to win? Are we here to further women's causes? Are we here to be nice to one another? And I went through a whole number of options, and then we came to the conclusions that we were actually here to win and do the other things too, but winning comes first.
What about the inevitable question about putting another man on deck?
We will not add any new members to the crew. David is the last crew member that will be added.
One more person.
There were, of course, 2 other defenders. The other newcomer was Pac 95, racing a boat painted like a mermaid. Peter Eisler, the navigator aboard the victorious Challenger Stars and Stripes back in '87. What about Pact?
Jim, their boat was called Young America, but in fact their average age was the highest of all the defenders. This was an interesting mix of talent. 7-time Cup veteran John Marshall ran this syndicate. He was lured out of retirement by freshman Cup skipper Kevin Mahaney. They only had 1 boat, but they were very confident of their computer-based testing program.
Out of the foggy, rock-lined coast of Maine comes Pac 95. No Americans have traveled farther to defend the Cup. 3,500 miles southwest to San Diego, where the lifestyle is very different. Kevin Mahaney skippers this talented freshman Cup team.
Right now, we just want time on distance to the line. Okay, we don't want him getting a gap on us. Okay. Nobody wants to hurt anybody else's feelings by saying, you know, darn it, I wish you'd have told me this, or this is what I want you to tell me. That, you know, really bridging that gap and, you know, saying the hard things is really the thing that we've had to overcome, you know, so that you don't hurt the other guy's feelings and show disrespect.
World-class sailor Andreas Josenhans came over from 92's America Cube team. As the main sheet trimmer, he works closely with Young America's Brain Trust. The young guns impress him.
The youth of the afterguard, boy, are these guys. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody that's quite as intense.
Ready to harden up? A little early, Kevin. Yeah.
These guys have got some emotional and mental and physical energy that's truly phenomenal.
3, 2, 1. Gosh, damn it. 30 degrees to the corner. 2 minutes. All this ley line for the boat.
This group is eager and respected in the sailing world. Their strong individual styles gel daily, and they're not afraid to take calculated chances.
We want to start to the right of Chris.
On shore, John Marshall is a wizard behind Pac 95. This is his 8th America's Cup campaign.
And this is my first chance to organize a program and put something together that represents my approach to sailing and a team of people that share the same values.
A quality team shines brightest in the face of adversity. One day before the christening, a mini tornado tore through the compound.
I'm sure everyone thought, for a moment at least, that this program was over, that there was no way to recover.
And once we finally got the crane hooked up and started lifting, it was just more crunching. It was just tearing your heart out every time you moved the boat.
I christen thee Young America.
24 hours later, the ceremony went off as scheduled. The single-boat campaign rescued. Ever since, the 75-foot Roy Lichtenstein Mermaid painted on the hull has been nicknamed Dorothy, the compound dubbed Oz. This rookie effort is never wanting for brains, heart, or courage. Pac's teamwork and constant improvement is what earned them the top spot in the finals.
A little more pressure here. Pressure's on.
Across town, our last stop on the Defender Tour. A third, more familiar team was gearing up. Here's Gary.
The resurgence of American patriotism that surrounds the Cup is directly traceable to Dennis Conner. His loss in 1983 sparked interest in returning the prize to its home of 132 years, America. Stars and Stripes was the yacht to bring it back.
Before you trim that jib anymore, you better get a little on that jib halyard. I'll give you a lob.
Dennis Conner is one of the best-known sailors in the world.
We're going to attack at the same time, tacking.
His organization has set the international standard for the regatta. Dennis Conner is Stars and Stripes. Last Cup was the only final Conner ever missed. His one boat took on America Cube's Armada. Outfunded, Conner's experience took it to the wire.
At one point, the score was 4-4, and we had obviously the faster boat, and he was beating us. And he had only a $12 million budget. So, I mean, you look at Dennis, gets more bang for the buck and more out of anybody out here.
That never-say-die attitude attracts sailors to Stars and Stripes. This time, a new generation of talent is refueling the team.
Well, I've always been intrigued by Dennis's camp, and when Dennis called me up and asked me, to come work for him, basically what I told him is, as far as I was concerned, it was the only show in town.
The skipper of Pac 95, Kevin Mahaney, was my teammate in the Olympics in Barcelona, so I had a little bit of an in with their group as well, and I actually decided to go with Dennis Conner because I felt that this team offers so much experience.
To make an America's Cup career complete, I think it's something you have to do, is to sail with Dennis Conner.
Along with former Il Moro skipper Paul Kayart, man for man, Stars and Stripes is a tough team to beat. There's agility, strength, plus a good mix of youth and experience. They're ready for anything. Well, almost.
These noises were right out of the keel area. They're not sure what's going on yet.
Severe boat damage in round robin 4 forced Stars and Stripes to replace the keel with an old appendage that unleashed a confetti of red flags on and off the water. The upshot, a last-minute, unprecedented defender deal to allow all 3 boats in the Citizen Cup final.
You can't fight if you're dead.
Rescued from certain elimination, this team of seasoned veterans is in fighting form. They are doing what their leader does best, digging in their heels, refusing to quit, even when the deck is stacked against them. This is the Dennis Conner Experience. Young America had clinched first position in the Defender Now 3-way final. The deal may have cost more than they bargained for. We call it Super Saturday. Big showdown between Young American Stars and Stripes. And on this day, the waves are big. And in the past, Stars and Stripes have struggled in these waves. But Young America is behind at the start.
Once again, KR takes the right-hand side. It pays off at the first cross. Stars and Stripes just ahead, tacks to cover.
A false tack by Stars and Stripes slows both boats down. Young America is forced to tack away. Both boats can hail protest, but the umpires rule no foul.
At the top mark, only a boat length and a quarter between the 2 boats. Young America's spinnaker goes up, but once again doesn't explode quickly.
The jib is slow to come down, the spinnaker is slow to fill, and they lose precious seconds.
As the sail begins to draw, Young America's still in a close enough position to attack downwind.
And then in a bold move, Young America tries to sail through the lee of Stars and Stripes, and they almost make it, but miss by about 6 feet.
Another protest for a mast to beam call by Paul Kayart, waved off, green flag by the umpires.
The umpires clearly don't want to ruin the race with a technical protest here. And then again at the windward mark, Young America tacks to port, almost stopped dead in the water. Stars and Stripes makes a bold move and stretches out her lead.
This race was incredible. The boats locked together all day, never more than 2 boat lengths apart. Stars and Stripes begins the beat back up for the 3rd time.
Then the move of the day. Stars and Stripes makes it across right away Young America by just 3 feet. A bold move. Young America protest. Protest again, disallowed.
Around the top mark, Stars and Stripes still in the lead, 3 miles from the finish. Could they protect the lead?
All day long, Young America is sailing a little bit faster than Stars and Stripes, but the tactical skill of Paul Kayard is too much for Young America. The difference, only 1 second.
Nice race, guys. Good effort.
That 1-second victory by Stars and Stripes was a turning point in their campaign. Even though they knew their boat was slower, after this win, they were confident they could outsail the competition. But getting to this point had been a struggle. Stars and Stripes was all but washed up more than once in the preceding month.
The whole boat's cracked. Big noises swirl right out of the keel area. Boat's coming apart, guys. If we sink, you guys make sure you're there.
It's amazing how the can-do spirit of all these America's Cup crew can do what seemingly is impossible. And in that case, it turned out to be actually a positive for us. But it's not something you would ever do on purpose, and you just do the best you can to cope with it, and that's what this America's Cup is all about, is dealing with the opportunities as they come along, and those that deal with them well make out, and the ones that can't cope go home.
Mission impossible, but in 36 hours, Connor is back with a new keel. Now red flags wave and force a sail off. The women celebrate, thinking they killed the beast, but a deal kept this dangerous sailor alive.
The Australians have a saying that when all else fails, bet on self-interest, because she's always running.
Cup veterans will tell you, give Dennis Connor an inch, he'll make you regret it. 18-3 straight with Paul Kayard, Tom Witt, and the best crew in San Diego on target. In any final, experience is a monster. Stars and Stripes attack. Often it was a game of inches and guts. When Mighty Mary made a mistake at the top mark, Kayard went for the throat. Queen flag. With a little more boat speed and a few wins, this crew is fully charged. They understand the Dennis Connor experience.
Man. Good race, guys.
Sails without seams. It's the latest rage in the America's Cup.
It's not unlike how we're building boats today. I mean, boats are built over a male mold, just like these sails are, and the lightest materials can be used, and again, there are no seams. It's all made in one piece. They're very durable and extremely light.
The process starts with a totally adjustable mold that can be programmed to assume any sail shape. Next, a thin layer of Mylar film is fitted to the mold. A computer-controlled stringer then lays down selected fibers, in this case, Kevlar over Mylar film. Fiber distribution is done according to a stress map analysis. The high load areas, the corners and back edge of the sail, are reinforced with more fibers. Three-dimensional laminated sails are being used on Stars and Stripes, Young America, and Black Magic. And this technology will soon be standard for all racing yachts. The process is completed by sandwiching the fibers between another sheet of Mylar and sealing with heat and epoxy.
We actually measure how long a sail lasts, how many tacks it survives, and how many hours we put on the sail and what kind of wind speed. We get pretty picky about that, and we've seen sails do a lifespan jump where a good sail was previously a 10-hour sail or a 15-hour sail, and now we're seeing sails that are going twice as long. That's a huge gain in terms of racing performance.
This gain in performance has made seamless molded sails the ones to count on as the top teams progress toward the America's Cup.
The date, April 26th. Most sailors call it Dennis Conner's greatest comeback.
Jim, do or die for both Mighty Mary at the top of the screen and Stars and Stripes at the bottom. Mighty Mary's clear, but Dennis Conner and Stars and Stripes over the line has to go back to start correctly, giving Mighty Mary a big lead.
This mistake precipitated by Paul Kerr being overly aggressive in the pre-start. He tried to push Mighty Mary over early. He ended up being over early himself.
In this race, the wind and wave conditions were perfect for Stars and Stripes, but Mighty Mary has a huge lead at the final mark. Only 3 miles to go to the finish line.
Jobbing back to Converge, though, 43 boat length lead evaporated. Stars and Stripes just behind, halfway down the leg.
No one could believe that Stars and Stripes is only 3 boat lengths behind with 1 mile to go. Then disaster. This Spinnaker rips aboard Stars and Stripes just as they're about to take the lead.
The crew races to recover. Watch the crew work. The new sail goes up. It took 38 seconds to get the new sail up, then problems getting the old tattered remains down.
Cut it away! Cut it, guys! Cut it away!
Just in the nick of time, the chute is cut away and the halyard is let go. Stars and Stripes still moving fast.
But in the shifty conditions, Conner would capitalize and ultimately take the lead for good. In the final moments approaching the line, he would cover Mighty Mary assiduously. The drama of this leg, 41 minutes in total, was witnessed by many as Stars and Stripes won the Citizen Cup. But the true magic of this incredible leg is best displayed on sail track.
Well, Mighty Mary at this point at the top mark with 3 miles to go enjoyed a huge lead. And then a curious thing, David Dellenbaugh, the tactician on Mighty Mary, keeps sailing in a straight line, failing to cover. Now, what he should have done here is jive and gone into the center of the course to stay between Stars and Stripes and a finish line, which is 3 miles directly downwind. The wind is from this direction here, but Dellenbaugh doesn't do it. He continues sailing in a straight line, and that was the first mistake out on the race course tactically.
Now, Mighty Mary is still making ground down towards the finish line. Look at the margin as Stars and Stripes goes around, 42.7 boat length. The crucial thing, the lateral separation. That would provide an opening to Stars and Stripes to get some different wind.
You might remember Tom Whidden saw some more wind over his shoulder. Stars and Stripes jive and a lot of breeze, and Mighty Mary now struggling. And look at the difference in courses here. They're converging. Stars and Stripes is getting closer and closer. Mighty Mary is trying to catch up and stay between. But I got to tell you, the Stars and Stripes crew's got to feel good right at this time. They've cut the lead in half.
The difference wasn't boat speed, it was a wind shift. Stars and Stripes shift off to the left, Mighty Mary to the right, which explains the convergent courses. As they continue down, Stars and Stripes jives across. Finally, Mighty Mary covers, staying between Stars and Stripes and the finish line.
But Stars and Stripes is executing better maneuvers. And look at this. Mighty Mary almost makes a button hook turn, turning sharply right in this area, slowing the boat down. And this allows Stars and Stripes to narrow the gap to only 4 boat lengths. The crew sniffed blood.
Look at the acceleration angle. Mighty Mary's actually pointed towards the top mark just to get back up to speed after that sharp turn.
At this point, Mighty Mary tries to cover again, but a bad jive once again, going slowly, and Stars and Stripes sails right over the top, and for the first time in the race, takes the lead.
As the boats separate, again, it's a random wind. They get some lateral separation. Once again, Stars and Stripes gets very lucky. When the boats finally jive and come back again together, Stars and Stripes benefits from a left-hand wind shift, and look at the margin as they come back across.
Well, every time Stars and Stripes needed a wind shift, it was there.
Look at the red track of Mighty Mary. They've sailed a much longer distance. At this point, Stars and Stripes jives a little bit late, and we'll watch them pay almost the same thing that happened just up the course with Mighty Mary.
And the problem for Stars and Stripes trying to accelerate going directly into the waves whilst Mighty Mary, the orange line, had speed. And at this point, it's anybody's race as they near the finish.
Mighty Mary jives, good move. And right here, look at the difference in boat speed between Mighty Mary, 8 knots, Stars and Stripes, 6 knots. Right now, what Mighty Mary should have done was taken one jibe over and then come in with a starboard advantage right at the favored end, the committee boat end of the line. They didn't.
Yeah, it was a missed opportunity here. Mighty Mary tries to go over the top, and Stars and Stripes at the bottom simply blocks her pass. We go through a series of jibes, Stars and Stripes executing a little bit better, and that was the difference. Stars and Stripes crossing the line 52 seconds ahead.
The women and Dave Dellenbaugh understandably disheartened, but the women's team should be proud of themselves. They sailed beyond expectation, staying in contention through the last leg of the last race. So Dennis Conner and his scrappy team go on to defend the cup, a storybook ending after racing a slow boat through a long regatta filled with setbacks. Finally, a chance to celebrate.
Testing the defense, 7 challengers from 5 countries. Leading the charge, Russell Coutts is skipper of Team New Zealand. Whitbread and Jules Verne hero Peter Blake is head man. The Kiwis have built 2 fast, nearly identical boats, making them very self-reliant. The crew has vast experience and keeps a low profile. Their heads are bent to the task. They're quiet, even by Kiwi standards. They are workaholics, tirelessly sailing and testing. There's a reason for that. In 1987, in their first try, New Zealand took a 37-1 lead into the finals and lost. In 1988, their big boat ambush was clawed by a cat and waylaid in court. And in 92, they were impaled on their own bowsprit. The 1-second loss to Il Moro began their slide. This year's sailor-friendly campaign has a slogan, as presented in this promotional video from New Zealand. The other Kiwi team arrives late with a radical Bruce Farr boat, led by Chris Dixon and tactician Peter Lester. They are underfunded and still competitive. Breakdowns don't faze this crew of Whitbread veterans. They finished 3rd in the semifinals, an accomplishment. Phase 2 of Nippon's 10-year program to win the Cup is comprehensive. Japan's famed Mikado Namba leads a crew of accomplished athletes from other sports. As in '92, Nippon recruits considerable coaching and sailing talent from offshore, but the team still struggles. Saddled with slow boats, the gracious Namba never blames the design team. The French also have a powerful campaign. Large team, big budget, and veteran skipper Marc Pajot. But mishaps dogged the French throughout the campaign. This is not to be their year. Even a radical mainsail can't make their boats competitive. Spain is still on the America's Cup learning curve. After 16 straight defeats, skipper Pedro Campos and crew celebrate their first victory in the trials over Sydney 95. Sid Fisher is always an enthusiastic player, despite his habitual spot at the bottom of the rankings. His boat needs more wind than San Diego's racecourse can provide. The other Australian team, One Australia. 83 Cup winner John Bertrand and his team have powerful sponsorship and a grand plan. They are consumed by this challenge, and they are here to win. To win the America's Cup, the challenger must first win the Louis Vuitton Cup. A series of storms batters San Diego's coastline throughout the winter and spring. The tow out for syndicates located in Mission Bay is often perilous. Bowmen working aloft often get more than even these tough gymnasts bargain for. Trimmers often wish they were wearing wetsuits. Damage control is a priority. technology expanding and tougher competition, designers begin cutting it close in the interest of performance, a dangerous game. Huge computers run complex programs to determine design parameters and structural engineering. Under the rule, designers can steal weight from the hull and put it in the keel bulb where it counteracts sail force. Sometimes, when Mother Nature gets angry, a price is extracted. On March 5th, a storm sweeps the race course off Point Loma, creating havoc. The French lose a mast. Sailors' lives are in danger. And one Australia finds the edge. On John Bertrand's invitation, we joined them for a tune-up session only 24 hours earlier. The campaign seemed very much on target, but as Adrian Karsten reports, their nightmare would soon begin.
The next day, March 5th, now known as Black Sunday. They didn't want to race. They were frightened by 20-knot winds and 6-foot seas. Could their boat take it? No, no way. When Australia's challenge for the America's Cup was torn in two. Within 2 minutes' time, the boat would be on the bottom. Some of the best sailors in the world swimming for their lives. With no loss of life, John Bertrand put the day in perspective.
We come from very strong stock, and what it will do, quite obviously, or the way we have to move forward, is to focus all energy into our first boat and to maximise the effort on that boat and go on and with that equipment win the America's Cup.
So now what? Would the Aussies just throw up their arms and give up? No, these guys refused to just fade. The morning after, heads down, tails up. The boat that won the Worlds would have to be refit in just over 24 hours to be back on course. A day later, life vested for effect, this resilient crew is playing it for laughs. But the laugh was on the competition. They whipped stablemate Sydney to warm up, then put the formidable Chris Dixon and Tag Heuer away to end round 4. The Aussies were definitely going to be okay.
If we can pull it off, it would be it would be like Lazarus returning. You know, we don't have a race boat. We understand that, but we have tremendous resolve and determination.
When Australia survived to provide the tightest match racing we had seen in the Cup trials, no one had come so close to beating the black boat on the water. They attacked the Kiwis, going upwind, and they were breathing down their neck. Last time the Aussies had sailed in winds over 12 knots, they sank. Now they seem to be saying, bring it on. 10 times they came within 4 feet of the black boat, looking for a fight. They were right on their tail. That same week, they led Black Magic for 2 hours, only to be passed at the finish, but Bertrand and the boys' rule of thumb was to make it to the finals. Matilda was waltzing a victory dance. Over the next 10 days, the sound of chainsaws creating a carbon cloud over the compound. They turned this campaign upside down in the final effort to beat New Zealand.
You know, one has to rebound and dig in when the going gets tough. And that's great character building for the people. And then when you get an opportunity, when the breaks come your way, you take it with a vengeance.
That emotion would be their momentum as they soar on new wings into the finals. Black Magic's string is broken in the finals. Rod Davis nails Russell Coutts at the start and takes an early lead. The close combat with Davis immediately tacking on Coutts promises an exciting afternoon. The Kiwis try to shake off the Aussies. But Bertrand and crew cover the black boat like a blanket. Kiwis come close time and again, tacking less than a boat length behind. For the first time, they trail at the weather mark, but only by 14 seconds. Upwind again, the Aussie lead is reduced to 12. The Kiwis tack. No, it's a fake, and Australia goes for it. The two boats are out of phase. But Australia comes back and crosses, hanging on. Davis slam dunks Coots. And Coots tries to power through. A game try, but that doesn't work. At the last leeward mark, it's still Australia. The Aussies win it by only 15 seconds. It takes strong wind and a perfect race by Australia to overcome Black Magic's powerful potion. It's the last race Australia will win. 2 races later, the Louis Vuitton Cup belongs to Team New Zealand. The crew still showing restraint. Louis Vuitton's Yves Carcel congratulates the winners.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we must now congratulate and celebrate Team New Zealand, Peter Blake, Russell Coots and the whole team. And of course, we all have one wish. They must bring the cup to Auckland.
Winning the Louis Vuitton, a giant step. But the Kiwis' elation is tempered. Their ultimate goal, still a step away. And it's bittersweet with their Aussie mates pondering a Black Sunday in March. Skipper Coots receives a ceremonial dunking, and Blake hoists the cup, while competitors and friends celebrate the end of this competition. The Kiwis will challenge for the America's Cup, having won the Louis Vuitton Cup.
No surprise when Dennis Conner decided to leave his blue boat in the cradle. He quickly made a deal with Pac 95 to sail the Mermaid in the Cup. The new boat was both a blessing and a curse. The learning curve would be steep.
Everybody's station's a little different. In my case, the steering wheels are 8 feet further back in the boat. The whole motion of the boat's different. The whole perception that I have of the race when the 2 boats are bow to bow. Now I'm much further back in the boat, and the same is true for really everybody on the boat. It's a bit different, and it's a challenge.
The 3 defense syndicates often seemed at odds. In the end, they closed ranks. Oddly enough, no matter which boat made the finals, one company was in a win-win situation. In 1995, all 3 defenders are built by Eric Gertz Custom Sailboats in Bristol, Rhode Island. The modern process is a far cry from steam frames and bronze screws. The most exciting moment in yachting, the first race of the America's Cup. The Mermaid takes the start in lumpy seas and strong winds. Which boat would be faster?
In the big waves, both crews were having trouble hitting their target boat speed numbers. At the first cross, the Mermaid just skips the line.
After 2 miles of sailing, the boat speed between these boats is even.
Jimmy, where are we on the race course?
Downwind, a missed opportunity for the Mermaid. They jibe too late, allowing Black Magic to sail with clear wind.
Black Magic surfs downwind with clear air. The Stars and Stripes team pressing to recoup. Around the bottom mark, Black Magic has the lead, but just.
This is only the 6th day that Dennis Conner's team has been aboard the Mermaid, and they're still learning the boat. According to Kayard, if they're within 30 seconds at this point, they're very much in the race.
Kayard happy to spin the wheel, tacking over, gaining the right-hand side and the starboard tack advantage. But the breeze is starting to drop.
And in light winds, Black Magic comes alive and stretches away to a big win to take race 1.
The final margin, 2:45. Despite the loss, this first test of the Stars and Stripes team left Kayard optimistic.
It was a tough day where you really had to know your boat to sail well today, and I think that we couldn't have had a more difficult situation for our first race as far as just the waves and all that and getting to know the boat. I don't think it's a giant mystery, and I'm pretty encouraged by what I saw in the first lap. I thought the race was closer, pleasantly close, and I think we can make this a hell of a series.
But race 2 would be another decisive victory for the Kiwis. The margin, 4 minutes, 14 seconds.
New Zealand natives know the legend. A great bird soared over the seas, searching the earth and sky for the destiny of the island people. Did he ever reach that destiny? Does the legend still live? New Zealand native Peter Blake, like the legend, has sailed those same seas around the world, circling the globe in less than 80 days. Now, his search has led him here, continuing this lifelong journey.
I used to probably get as much fun out of my little 7-foot dinghy as I do out of a 92-foot long catamaran. And you make your own decisions, you become self-reliant. So it's a good builder of character and teaches you to you know, go with your own decisions, be they right or wrong. You make just as many wrong ones as you do right ones, but that's the learning curve.
Does the legend still live? Well, in his homeland, he is a hero. This mysterious story, the legend told by the natives, has now reached every corner of their country. Everything Peter Blake does is front page news.
The achievements he's done have been superhuman, you know, and the fact that he's still alive with all the challenges that he's faced with the ocean. And I think his personality also commands respect. The way that he bears himself and his manner, everything about him you look up to.
In the wake of his America's Cup campaign, he's flying higher than ever. But the search for his destiny may soon be over. After all the time it has taken, after all the cups have been raised, it is the search he will have loved the most.
The people who do these long-term events and put up with some real hardships, they come back changed, and changed, I think, for the better. They are much more even personalities and easy to get on with, and there's this big bond between people who have done the race. If you don't see someone for 4 or 5 years or 6 or 7 years, doesn't matter. You have this real bond when you meet with them again, because they know what you've been through and you know what they've been through.
After all he's been through, yes, the legend lives.
In race 3, the Mermaid on the right, close to Black Magic on the left, tries to sail through the lure after Black Magic makes a slam dunk maneuver.
Concentration on board on the first leg. Paul Kerr decides to open up gauge and initiate a downspeed tackle duel.
The secret in these maneuvers, accelerating back up to full speed after you make your turn.
In light winds, momentum is key. Watch Kayard execute a fake tack.
And the Kiwis go for it. They turn too fast and lose speed. Kayard's got his chance.
Now the Mermaid's going about 2 knots faster.
Come on up. Come on up. Come on up.
Kayard rolls into another tack. The Mermaid's closing.
The key to good maneuvers in these situations is to use your sails in coordination with your rudder.
Come on up. Come on up.
The weakness of Black Magic in these conditions is its small appendages. They tend to stall out when the boat gets down speed in rapid-fire maneuvers.
Come on up.
Kayard immediately
up,
goes
Bill.
into another tack. Mermaid is catching up. Only 1 boat length separates the 2 boats.
But Russell Coots and his tactical team take advantage of being in the lead, breaking off the tactical, heading to where they see more wind pressure.
This leaves the Mermaid to sail to the left side of the course where there's less wind. Black Magic goes on to win this race by 1 minute and 51 seconds. After dominating in light, medium, and strong winds, choppy waves, and smooth water, many sailors around the world are impressed by the speed of this black boat and wonder what is the secret of her success.
In any campaign, the design of the boat is critical. You get that factor wrong, it doesn't matter what else you do, doesn't matter how many hours a day you spend out on the water, doesn't matter how enthusiastic or experienced the crew are, you're not going to win, really.
The boats sort of look the same, but there's a lot more to it to that. You know, there's keels and bulbs and wings and rudders and sails and balance and a whole myriad of things that come into what makes these boats go fast, and you've got to get it all right.
Black Magic appears to be the solution, the envy of this high-tech design world.
It's a breakthrough boat, even though visually it may not look like that, and I think that's attributed to the whole performance of the team, the design of the boat, the construction, and every facet of the organization.
In 1983, Australia 2's breakthrough was attributed to a single radical feature, the winged keel. Black Magic's success comes from getting all the basics right, many subtle features working together in harmony. The hull is narrow, its cylindrical shape is tippy, but very easily driven through the water, making it fast to accelerate and slippery downwind. The appendages are simple but elegant, major factors in its pointing ability. The mast is set far back in the boat, almost directly over the keel fin, providing a positive effect on the balance. The top of the mast is ultra stiff, enhancing control of the mainsail shape, the boat's primary driving force. No team has spent more time two-boat testing, the time-consuming process that allows them to experiment and make incremental gains, especially in sail shape, maybe Black Magic's greatest attribute. Sailors are involved with the design and speed process, a basic foundation of this team.
Race 4, split tacks for the two boats. Black Magic heads for the left, the Mermaid for the right.
And for the first time in this America's Cup, the American team is ahead at the first cross. Black Magic packs away.
Unfortunately for Dennis Conner and Team Stars and Stripes, they fall into a hole on the right side of the course. It seems Black Magic always calls it right and establishes a big lead to win the race.
Wind direction.
That set the stage for race 5. The Kiwis one race away from victory as they leave out of the Mermaid.
The conditions, bumpy seas, just like race 1. At the first mark, only 21 seconds separate the two boats. The Mermaid's getting better.
But a breakdown takes away any chance of the Stars and Stripes team from catching up.
And Black Magic goes on to capture the America's Cup 5 straight. It's difficult to imagine what winning the Cup means to New Zealand. For Americans, it's the equivalent of putting a man on the moon. Peter Blake said winning the Cup would be the greatest thing he could do for his country. On board, a festive mood. The Kiwis finally let it go. Coots target, tactician Brad Butterworth. A broom is tied to the rigging, indicating a clean sweep of the 5-race series. Crowded with the entire Kiwi team and friends, Black Magic approaches the dock of the San Diego Yacht Club to claim the oldest trophy in sports.
Congratulations, the America's Cup.
Skipper Coots and Peter Blake accept the cup and raise it on high. John Bertrand, the first foreigner to win the Old Mug, remembers how this moment feels. He'll be back. For Dennis Conner, four-time winner, it wasn't to be. He still carried the flag. This wasn't the first meeting for Coots and Kayard, and it won't be the last. Blake gives Coots a congratulatory shove. And Kayard says, good on you to Blake. And the winners drink with deep satisfaction.